Schönen Tag, bonjour, hello everyone, and thank you for giving me the floor and this platform to exchange all the updates. I'm recently back from Ukraine, but I would like to start my speech with the words of thank you on behalf of Ukraine and on behalf of people of Ukraine for the solidarity, for all assistance and support we receive for our people of Ukraine here in Switzerland, in Europe. We also want to say thank you to the government and to officials of Switzerland for very new steps for the history of Switzerland. And this is very important, not just to show the solidarity, it's also important really to make concrete steps which are helpful. If we talk about sanctions, they do help. If we talk about status S for our Ukrainians who run not from the poorness, they run away from the war, this is also very helpful. A lot of hearts and houses of Swiss people were really frankly opened, and I know a lot of people, just like Mayor of Bern, for example, who hosted 2 Ukrainians in his home, and many, many others. Just yesterday we have planted a tree in the park of Bern as the symbol of peace and support of these people who were killed in last months. This is a special period also for the history of Europe, because May 9, May 8, these are the dates when we have celebrated the victory of Europe. And today, unfortunately, we are back to these crimes, war crimes in Europe. And today, when we talk about and speak about Ukraine, it's not only about Ukraine, it's about the democracy of Europe, it's about international law, it's about human rights of European family. And of course, we do our best to protect the territory, to protect people, but at the same time, we do our best to protect this understanding of nationality of Ukrainians who are killed and destroyed. During World War II, the Nazis killed 10,000 civilians in Mariupol. Within 2 years of the occupation, Russians have already killed more than 20,000 residents of Mariupol within 2 months. And these are not clear numbers. And frankly speaking, we don't have clear numbers because we don't have access to all the territories. But the numbers are huge. The level of this murder will be, of course, given to international human rights justice. Now we collect all the facts. We are thankful to our European partners. As I mentioned, just last week I was back in Ukraine. I have mentioned maybe in media, but I originally come from Kiev, but my grandmother, she lived in Irpin. So my childhood, I was really spending a lot of time in Irpin, and frankly speaking, entering this city was very unusual and hard for understanding. Why? For what? What is the aim? To destroy infrastructure. What we understand and see today, if the Russians cannot occupy the territory, they just destroy all infrastructure. Because, of course, this is a big hit for our economy, for our recovery, and for sure, this is something where we will focus on with our international partners after the victory. After the victory of democracy and after the victory of understanding what is Europe. A few more issues to mention, and frankly speaking, I don't want to have this monologue, maybe more the dialogue with questions. I would be ready and happy to answer. But very important updates that Ukraine is preparing for the second wave. We have won the battle for Kiev and Kiev region, for the security of our capital. As you know, our President Zelensky and the whole team stayed in Kiev for the whole time. So there was no escape. There was no even a thought to give up. And this is also important for people of Ukraine because they're really strong. They would go out on the streets, as you mentioned, might have seen, without weapons, just with open hands to say stop to Russian military. And at the end of the day, children were raped and killed. Today we have more than, I think, in only one region, around 20,000 children missed. We have around 100,000 children disappeared by territory because some people were taken out to Russian Federation. So for our understanding, it's a kidnapping, and it's not only about children, it's also about women. And another big issue, it's about military people. We, of course, understand and respect neutrality of Switzerland, but today we have another situation, and it's not business as usual. So we find negotiations in different spheres, and we really are thankful to our partners in Ministry of Foreign Affairs and SECO and other institutions for having this possibility to find quick steps together. Another very important part, that Ukraine is an agriculture country. We always said that we are grains and brains, so brains for agro and brains for IT sector. And this is where we also are a bit confused how to move forward, because Russians with rockets and with other ways physically destroy the agro hubs with, for example, sun oil, with wheat, with corn. So everything what we also deliver to Europe, deliver to our partners, it's destroyed. And today it's already a humanitarian crisis in Ukraine, because a lot of production was stopped or destroyed also, but still our brave Ukrainians go on tractors, because today it's the season of planting, and some of them don't come back, but we still do our best to also respect and to really have this feeling of responsibility for our partners in Europe and around the world. If we stop shortly on the media and the fake news, this is also an important track, because unfortunately propaganda was used by Russians for many years, and today it has not changed. There's few channels which are very active also in Europe and in the world, sharing not the truth, sharing the fake news. That's why we ask all our partners really to stop broadcasting such channels as Russia Today and few others, because, I mean, the world and people has to know the truth. Because, for example, in the Russian Federation, if we can still say so, according to a social survey conducted by one of the centers in late April, 74% of Russians support Putin's war against Ukraine. And this is the fact where we understand it's not that we just close our eyes and keep our hands down. We have to deliver these messages. We have to deliver truth to the world and to Russian people, because other way it will not work. And as mentioned, why sanctions work? Because the more the life is uncomfortable for Russia and for, first of all, this circle of people around Putin, the more they feel that it's not more business as usual, and then it's not life as usual for Ukrainians. And when we talk about sanctions with some companies, and they tell us that, well, people in Russia are not satisfied, they need this and this type of goods, I say, my people, civilian people, they need life jackets, they need helmets to protect themselves, because it's even going out on the streets, it's not so easy. At the same time, Kyiv is getting back to life. A lot of women are back to Kyiv, because I can talk about Kyiv because I was in Kyiv, not other regions. If you talk about east and south, the situation is completely different. But as you know, because of this military regime, we had to put the law when the men between 18 and 60 years old are not allowed to leave the country. But women also coming back to the families because they were splitted, coming back to help in different social spheres, restaurants, cafes, stadiums, and so on, been working in the close regime just to deliver goods and food to hospitals, to other institutions which were not closed. So this was really a huge unity of Ukrainian nation, of Ukrainian people. And I think Putin has already lost his game. He has united our country as never before. And this is the truth, not only about Europe. It's not about only Ukraine, but also about Europe, because Europe has never been so much united, but much more to do and much more steps to be taken. But as I have started my speech with the words of thank you, the same I would like to end my speech before questions. Thank you for all the solidarity of people of Switzerland, people of Europe, and the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you. Thanks to you, and also a big thank to all your team for what you are doing, and the way you are outspoken and engaged also in the debate discussion in Switzerland. I think we as European Movement Switzerland very much appreciate your words, and again a big thank you for having updated us and share with us your thoughts. You mentioned, and maybe let me start with that, you already mentioned by attacking Ukraine, Russia not only just attacked Ukraine, but the whole Europe, the idea of a united, democratic Europe. Maybe you could share with us your thoughts on how you, when you saw the reaction of the EU, which in some view is quite historic. It went quite fun. They reacted quickly. Not enough, probably, but maybe you could share with us how you saw and perceived this European reaction to the war.
Thank you. As you know, a lot of companies, business was producing and having and being presented in Ukraine. So we have to understand that today we start with the losses of European business. So this is where it starts for Europe, already in Ukraine. That's why the sanction list, and it was not once, and we had 5 packages, and of course we are working on further steps. And this is important that we have started to receive military equipment, not only to protect and defend, but also to have the feeling of an understanding that we can also hit back when it's needed. But Ukraine has never taken a centimeter of someone's land. So today we protect our land, we protect our people, we protect all the possible democratic rules, and that's why delivering also this military equipment is important. And frankly speaking, if it was a bit earlier, we would save more lives, we would save more territory, more infrastructure. Unfortunately, Belarus, as a big neighbor, friend before, and a really very close people-to-people bridge, has given up, and we have really lost a lot because the gates were open from Belarus, especially if we talk about Kyiv and Kyiv region. Even everything what is flying to west part of the rockets, it's coming from the territory of Belarus. So this was very unexpected after we have really supported people of Belarus after their presidential elections, when they were just killed or hit it on the streets. We opened our gates for them to come to our country, to stay long as possible, to work, and so we gave all the support. I'm not saying today that people of Belarus, all of them, really are for the war, but still, this was a huge step and a big possibility also for Belarus to join Europe. Mm-hmm. But it was, at the end of the day, other way around, but not Ukraine. Ukraine, since 30 years of independence, this year we will celebrate our 31st year. We have our 6th president, and one of them is already for 2 terms, was for 2 terms. How many presidents were in some of, or most of post-Soviet countries? This is about Ukraine. This is the truth, because we had 2 revolutions on the streets. One was more peaceful in 2004 for democracy and for Europe, so-called Orange Revolution. Back in 2013, unfortunately, it was not so peaceful, but it was Revolution Dignity, when young people of Ukraine, came on the streets to protect rights of Europe and rights of Ukrainians to be part of the European family. Mm. That's when we talk about Europe, and when we talk about the logo, this is Ukraine and part of Europe.
And maybe a last question. What's your perspective on our role as European movement in Switzerland in this context? We are very much, and we already spoke about that this morning, we are committed to solidarity and showing all our support to Ukraine. As mentioned, it's not it's your country first, but through your country, the entire idea of a peaceful, democratic Europe. What are your wishes, maybe almost for an organization such as ours?
Yes, thank you first of all for support again and for this possibility to speak to the audience. Of course, if you talk about concrete steps, it's sanctions, because as I mentioned, they do work, they do help. Humanitarian support and aid, unfortunately, and we understand that now it's 3rd months of the war, people, companies, partners getting a bit tired or not as planned as it was before the war has started. Their amounts of help, but our humanitarian help is going down, not only from Switzerland, from all parts of the world. As the embassy, we have created several hubs in Switzerland, also in Bern, for example. So we have delivered, with the assistance of our embassy, a lot of trucks which are going with food, with Lebensmittel, with hygienische Sachen, mit medicine, pharma, and so on. So everything is, frankly speaking, is needed today, and then it's delivered to the hotspot. So maybe this would be also a practical way to help Ukrainians. And in some regions, it's critical, really critical, even about water. If we talk about Mariupol or some regions around Kharkiv, where the brave people come and deliver because they not, I mean, it's not safe just even to move around, but they do it because it's for civilians, first of all, because, for example, in Mariupol, civilian people live for more than a month on the ground, not even going out. And now we try and we negotiate to have them out, but then there is also a question. It's not only the Red Cross, it's also the other organizations involved, but the Russians block it. I mean, they just doing a really ugly war with no rules of war, which also exist, and with no this sensitivity about people and humanity. And this is what I saw in Irpin or in Gostomel or Bucha myself. So it's not just a picture from television or from social media. This is what when you see it and you feel it, then it's really, and when you start to lose some people, you know this is also.
No, thank you very much. And you mentioned it. It's been already 2 months, and maybe our role, and I'm very glad you are here with us today, is not to get tired or give up hope. So we'll keep in touch also with the embassy, and maybe we can spread around a few contacts if needed. But a big thank you for having done the way to us here in Hotel Kreuz. It's nothing, but still.
Thank you.
Thanks again for participating.